Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here. It is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and we have a lot to cover today. The first thing I want to start with is a fundamental, simple question that I get a lot that doesn't have an easy shortcut answer. And you should know that. Know it to your heart and know it to your core. I'm asked all the time about primarily precious metals. People ask me all the time, is such and such precious metal going to go up or down? And the answer is, I don't know, and nobody knows. And more importantly, the answer is, that's not the answer. It's probably part of the answer. All these different precious metals that you talk about and hear about all over. And you see, if you watch any of these conservative talk show podcasts or whatever, is buy this precious metal and it looks cute and it's going to be the great new thing. The problem that I have is that's not a portfolio. People tend to look for shortcut answers, and that they can be drawn into the next new fad and the new trend and may be disappointed. In fact, I have a whole career in finance full of people who have come to me and expressed grave disappointment because they've done X when they should have done Y, or to use that expression, they've zigged when they should have zagged. So I have, in order to sort of illustrate a point, I've gone into my pen bin on my desk and pulled a whole bunch of marking utensils. I'm just going to call them all marking utensils. So as you can see in here, we've got a highlighter. I have a red pen so that I'm kind of old school. I get things, I want to mark up something, I use a red pen on an actual piece of paper, and I'll highlight stuff. If you're under the age of, I don't even know, 25, you probably think that that's old school and funny. That's fine, you can laugh all you want. Somehow I ended up with a purple pen at some point. I don't even remember where that came from. I've got a dry erase marker and pencil, of course. I can go old school. And I have kind of a nice, I like this pen. It writes really well and it's sharp, it's sort of fashionable. And so, it gets compliments when I use this, pull it out of my shirt pocket or whatever. My point in bringing these things up is, to me, in my book, when people say that they think that investments are woke and they're upset and they're concerned about their portfolio and they have fill in the blank mutual fund that they've been buying forever, usually 9 times out of 10 these days, it's somebody who's defaulted into some index fund because it seems like a good answer. Or at some point years ago, they checked a box next to some index fund. More on index funds in a moment so that I'm clear and you understand what that is and the implications of that. But what ends up happening is they come to me and ask the question, I'm now unhappy with this index fund because I've discovered that it's really woke and I don't like it. And so what should I go into? And the first thing out of their mouth typically is such and such precious metal. The problem I have is that's like saying, this pen doesn't work, so should I switch to a purple pen? And the answer all the time, absolutely 100% of the time, is what you want is a nice big basket of different utensils. And in the case of investing, this is sort of an analogy that I'm drawing. In the world of investing, you do not want to have all of your eggs in one basket. You should not want that. You do not need that. And please don't do it. So the answer to the question about fill in the blank precious metal is that should probably be a part of your portfolio, but that's not the answer. And you need to know, anybody that's telling you, hey, be really alarmed at that thing, but here's an easy answer over here, is lying to you or trying to make money off of profiting off of a lack of understanding or getting you into the next new thing that may disappoint. Don't do that. What you should be doing, and a big part of all of this push and the conversations that we have on a regular basis about going UnWoke, is to look at not just where the woke is, how to get it out of your portfolio. Remember, as an aside, diss the left. Know where you donate, invest, and spend your money. Stop giving it to leftist companies and causes. They're getting crushed by we the people. You're getting harmed, and you're also giving money to enemies of everything that we like, know, trust, and stand for. All of Western civilization right now is under this crushing pressure of trying to get everything into global communism. And we can see that now when we've defined it and we keep talking about it. And all of this push from World Economic Forum and the viral fears from the UN and World Health Organization and all that stuff, it has the objective of creating fear and getting everybody into and agreeing with global communism. Don't buy into it. Where that applies to your wallet and your money is taking money away from those companies that mean us harm. So in other words, stop giving money to people who hate you, clearly, and start putting it into things that make more sense. Yes, that may include those precious metals, but it should also include a whole bunch of other stuff. There are good, big, established companies out there that are non-woke. If they're not woke and they're in line with your moral compass, remember, as we say, vote your values, invest in those companies. And in addition to that, there are tons of, we talk all the time about parallel economy. The opportunity is tremendous. It's amazing out there. I talk all day, practically all day, every day, to all these startup ventures and missions, these people that are mission-based, and they're trying to create the next new economy. It has the potential of being incredibly amazing. Remember, I've said a few times in the past, never forget that expression, once it gets to Wall Street, all the money's been made. That means that all those startups and small businesses and ventures and everything, there are people out there with big money who invest in those. And then they make all this big money, and then they make huge money on the launch of it as it goes public. And oftentimes, and you've seen it and you've heard about it, including big social media platforms that have gone public and then they just quickly sort of fizzle, or it takes a long time for them to regain or whatever. But in that process of going from concept and then getting listed, there are people that were made rich. You should be thinking in those terms, in addition to thinking in terms of what comes next for our economy in the United States. So it's kind of twofold. There is the possibility, and I want you to feel energized by this and enthusiastic. There is the possibility that as we work on building and developing a parallel economy, and that we, the people, types of initiatives and ventures get out there and get funded and grow, some of those may grow extraordinarily and become tremendously profitable. And for those people who were daring enough to get in at the ground floor and help seed money and help it to grow and flourish from its inception, those are the people that make big money. Typically, in the past, that's a select handful of venture capital types of firms that are very globalist and tend to lean very left, et cetera, et cetera. Why not think in terms of we, the people, being the funding catalyst? We, the people, pooling our money and putting it into those companies. This is in addition to it's not one or the other. It's a portfolio. It's a bunch of different things. Remember my analogy with all these different pens and pencils and highlighters and writing utensils and all that stuff, or anything. It's not to mix two analogies, but I've also heard people use the great analogy of baking something. And you have lots of ingredients that go in, and there has to be some forethought and planning and organization. And then eventually you get something, hopefully, that's really good that comes out. Same thing with investing. So as you're looking at those precious metals and you're looking at the really good companies that have established themselves and shown themselves to be solidly pro-capitalism, pro-West, have good Judeo-Christian fundamental principles. They're not woke left. They're not doing harm to society. Those types of companies, by all means, you're investing. You're putting your money into companies and helping them to grow and flourish, in exchange for which you hope to get a good return on that investment. Have those things in your portfolio, but also include in some of these possible maybes for the future. It doesn't take much. And if a lot of us combine and put money into these pooled investments that we're actually in the process now of building, we're actually creating the infrastructure to allow people to invest in those things. And now just imagine in the future, if you are one of those people that is able to participate and you can make the comment, well, actually it won't be once it gets to Wall Street, all the money's been made. The comment in the future will be, we the people pooled together, combined our assets, and we created this next new economy. And it can be amazing. Think of it this way. There are numbers that are thrown around in connection with the company BlackRock. So BlackRock, I believe rightly so, gets a lot of flack from the public, a lot of bad press outside of the old legacy media who still seem to adore them for obvious reasons, probably because they're owned by BlackRock. I think. I'll have to look that up. But the real news, where actual news is reported, has been all over BlackRock for a long period of time. Well, BlackRock is purported to move around $10 trillion. There are all kinds of rumors that swirl. I don't know which parts are true and which parts are false, but let's just assume that the dollar figure itself of $10 trillion is real. By the way, I have a report that I'm going to release within the next few days. I've looked up actually the top holdings of BlackRock. So BlackRock, as a company, invests in these other companies. So they're what's called a portfolio manager, or they're investment managers. BlackRock buys these companies and then makes control about what they can and can't do, and influences those companies in undue fashion. So the choices that you, in the combined we, the people, have is to try to pool together to exert our influence and our control on the behaviors of those companies, those same companies, or pull out. And imagine if we took that $10 trillion, or half of it, if we were able to successfully get half of that $10 trillion, it's $5 trillion that we could be putting into and investing in companies other than, the examples I keep giving are Target, Anheuser-Busch, which is the parent company of Bud Light. Nike's gotten a lot of bad press and tanked a bunch of times recently. The pharmaceutical companies, the ones that went way far overboard, forcing those experimental jabs on the public, all of that stuff is bad and it shouldn't be in your portfolio. So let's put all that together in a meaningful way. As I say, this the left, know where you donate, invest, and spend. Pull your money out of the companies that are investing in those harmful companies. As a side note, an important, maybe encouraging you to be a little bit greedy with your money. Think, because most everyone is, let's be honest, think in terms of the performance of those investments that went woke is really bad. It's really bad for a reason, because there are a lot of people out there that do things like boycott. I actually don't suggest boycott. I suggest instead vote your values, because that lasts longer. But whatever you call it, people are pulling their money out of and shopping less at those companies, and they're impacting in a negative way those woke stocks. It's a good thing. I know it sounds bad. I'm talking about negative performance of stocks, but when they drop, it sends a message to the marketplace that we, the people, we don't like it. We don't want it. We don't want those companies where we're buying our tennis shoes or getting groceries or whatever. We don't want them to be woke. We're not interested. We, the people of the world, are fighting back against this agenda to shove us into a global communist new world order type of structure. We don't want it. We don't like it. So that means that if you're putting money in from your salary, you get your wages and you deduct some and put it into your 401k, or you're making contributions into your IRA, and you turn it over to that big Wall Street type of firm or whoever, you have some broker, or you're in picking mutual funds online, you have to look deeper. I'm encouraging you to continue to dig deeper and look deeper. Look into those companies that your investment managers are buying for you. We talked a few days ago about proxy voting, the importance of the vote that you have, but also think in terms of greed and what you get back for it. Are you getting diminished returns because they're propping up stocks like Target and Disney and Anheuser-Busch, which most of the people out there are fleeing from, driving your stock price and your return down? You shouldn't be. Pull your money out. Get it into better non-woke investments. And at the same time, there are, how do I want to put this? There's excitement, and I've seen articles all over non-woke, non-leftist media groups. So there are publications out there that say, wow, check it out, everybody. Disney stock is down. I think they were down at $1.13 billion. I want to say, I don't know, don't quote me on the number, but look it up yourself. And those articles catch fire. And people who are not into the far left woke look at that and say, yay, look, we're showing them, we're proving, we're making a point. We are driving the point home that we don't want the terrible thing that they're doing. But look at the lost opportunity of having your portfolio, your 401k or IRA, your brokerage account or whatever, of having that money invested in those stocks. What you've done is artificially prop that stock up and allowed managers to use your money to make the company less damaged. So let me put that in clearer terms. So imagine that article, and I'm just going to pick on, let's pick one that is known recently, been all over the media, have been, they've gone woke, they went woke, go broke, as the saying goes. So let's pick on Target. So Target has this big newspaper article and articles all over the web showing that their stock price went down, let's just call it $10 trillion. They're not that big, $10 billion. I'm just using round numbers. You can look them up. I don't remember exactly how far down they went at their lowest point. But so everyone gets excited. Wow, Target went down $10 billion. What if I told you that if the American public, we the people, didn't have so much woke money invested through things like our 401k, maybe Target would have gone down $30 billion. We could have done that. So if you were excited about those newspaper headlines and that captured your attention and you thought, cool, look, we're making an impact. Your impact was actually diminished by you. I mean you in the general. So that is why I really continue to push and hammer that point home. Open up your statements. When you get that statement in the mail and it shows you how, I've got just a blank envelope here with some notes on it, but you get that envelope, you open it up, look into it. And remember how I said in a previous episode that remember mutual funds. So the most common investment vehicle of 401ks and things like them. Mutual funds are always 5 letters ending in X. So it'll be 4 letters, then the letter X. Type that into a browser and start to look at you'll right away, any browser, open up any browser, type in those 5 letters, and you'll see an array of different information about that mutual fund. Drill down and see what it's invested in. And if it's invested in things like Target, remember that example I was telling you, Target down, headlines, flashy headlines, clickbait stuff. It's down $10 billion. If your mutual funds and your colleagues and your family members and people around you and your community and people all across the United States and the Western world, if they are all invested in mutual funds that are buying Target stock, that Target stock was propped up artificially. Keep that point in mind. That's the impact that we have. So now over the past few days, I've touched on the incredible power that we have through proxy voting. The votes that we have because we own those companies is huge, but also where we allow our money to be invested. It's not one thing. Remember all these examples that I gave. Visualize this. You don't want any one thing in your pen dish. You want lots of stuff because one of them may not do well. And there shouldn't be anybody out there telling you that they know that the next big thing is going to be red pen, so that's all you need to invest in. Not true. Build a portfolio. It's worth the work. It's worth the effort. And for right now, what I'm advocating for is looking at individual stocks and bonds. You know the company. You can do the research. We can work with you. We can get you pointed in the right direction. Don't easily trust the managers. The managers have to prove themselves, and we have to know definitively that they're not woke, that they're not the type that are putting the money into things like Target, using that example. This has been another episode of UnWoke.Academy. I'm Jonathan Broadbent, your host. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to send in your questions or comments or the issues that you'd like to ask about, like mutual funds. Do you see mutual funds in your offering for company 401k plan? Do you have questions? Send them in. We'll get answers. Thanks for listening.